I'm Ashley, 26 years old, and 3 weeks ago, I almost lost my left leg. Not because of the accident, but because my family refused to help. Picture this. I'm lying in a hospital bed, watching infection crawl up my leg like a slow-burning fuse. The doctors give me 48 hours. I need $10,000 for emergency surgery, so I call my parents. Dad's response? "We just bought a boat, $45,000. Mom adds, "A limp will teach you responsibility." My sister laughs through the phone. "You'll manage." Then my 69-year-old grandmother shows up with an envelope. $800. She'd sold her late husband's woodworking tools, the only thing she had left of him. 800 wasn't enough to save my leg. But what happened next? That changed everything. Before I continue, if this story resonates with you, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely want to hear the rest. And tell me in the comments, where are you right now and what time is it? I want to know who's listening. Now, let me take you back 4 weeks, to the morning I woke up and couldn't feel my leg. 4 weeks ago, Tuesday morning, 6:47 a.m. I'd just finished a 12-hour night shift at Mercy General's emergency room. My body was running on caffeine and muscle memory. I remember peeling off my scrubs, collapsing onto my bed, thinking I'd sleep until noon. I woke up at 9 a.m. with my left calf on fire. 5 days earlier, I'd taken a spill on my bike. Nothing dramatic, just hit a pothole wrong and scraped my leg on the pavement. I cleaned it, bandaged it, moved on. ER nurses don't have time to baby every scratch. But now, looking down at my leg, I felt my stomach drop. The wound was angry red, swollen, hot to the touch. And there was a streak, a thin red line crawling up toward my knee like a warning sign written in my own skin. I knew what that meant. Every nurse does. Cellulitis, possibly progressing to sepsis. I called my coworker, Dana. She picked up on the second ring. "Dana, I need you to look at something." I sent her a photo. Silence. Then, "Ashley, get to the ER, now. Don't drive yourself. Call an ambulance if you have to." It's that bad? That red line? If it reaches your lymph nodes, we're talking blood infection. You know this. I did know. I'd seen patients lose limbs to infections that started exactly like this. I'd held their hands and told them everything would be okay while surgeons prepared to amputate. I lived alone. No roommate, no boyfriend, no family nearby who'd pick up the phone at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday just to check on me. So I drove myself to the hospital, watching that red line in my rearview mirror like it might move while I wasn't looking. Dr. Reeves didn't sugarcoat it. "The infection is aggressive. We need to operate within 48 to 72 hours, or we're looking at osteomyelitis, bone infection. At that point, amputation becomes a real possibility." I nodded. I'd seen this movie before, just never as the patient. "The surgery," I said. "What's the cost?" He hesitated. Doctors hate talking money. "With the debridement, IV antibiotics, possible skin graft? Around 15,000. Insurance? Your file shows you're in a coverage gap. New employer, waiting period." Right. I'd switched hospitals 3 weeks ago. Better pay, better hours. My old insurance ended the day I left. My new coverage wouldn't fully kick in for another month. The hospital's financial coordinator came in an hour later. Young guy, apologetic eyes. "Your new insurance will cover about 5,000 as emergency care," he explained. "That leaves roughly 10,000 out of pocket." $10,000. I had $4,800 in savings, every penny I'd scraped together to pay down my student loans. "Payment plans?" I asked. "We can work something out, but we need a significant portion up front before we can schedule surgery." I stared at the ceiling. The fluorescent lights buzzed like they were mocking me. $10,000, 48 hours. My mind went to the one place I'd trained it never to go, my family. I hadn't called home in 2 months, not since Dad screamed at me for missing Megan's engagement party at some fancy resort, because I had a shift I couldn't trade. But this was life or death. Surely that changed things. Surely blood meant something when blood was literally poisoning me from the inside. I picked up my phone and called Mom. Mom picked up on the fourth ring. I could hear the whir of hair dryers in the background. Ashley? Hold on. I'm at the salon. I waited. 30 seconds. A minute. Okay, I'm in the waiting area. What's wrong? I took a breath and explained. The accident. The infection. The surgery. The $10,000 I didn't have, and the 48 hours I had to find it. Silence on the other end. Then, you always have something, don't you? I blinked. Excuse me? Drama, Ashley. You always have drama. Your sister is getting married in 2 months and you're calling me with this? Mom, I could lose my leg. A sigh, long, theatrical. Have you tried your insurance? There's a gap. I explained. Well, I can't make decisions about money. You know that. Your father handles finances. I squeezed my eyes shut. Can you ask him, please? He's busy today. We're looking at boats. Boats. My parents were shopping for boats while I was watching infection climb my leg. Mom, please, I'm begging you. Another pause. Then softer, but not kinder. I'll mention it to him. But Ashley, you need to learn to handle your own problems. You're 26. I know how old I am. Do you? Because you're calling your mother for money like you're still in college. Before I could respond, she added, Oh, and Megan's engagement party is in 2 weeks. The official one, at the country club. Try to make it this time. The line went dead. I sat there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to nothing. That night, I barely slept. Not because of the pain in my leg, but because of what I knew was coming next. I had to call Dad. I called Dad the next morning. My leg had swollen another half-inch overnight. He answered on the first ring. Your mother told me you called. No, how are you? No, I heard you're in the hospital. Just business. Dad, I need help. I need $10,000 for surgery, or I might— Let me stop you right there. His voice was calm, almost cheerful. Do you know what I did yesterday? I didn't answer. I bought a boat. $45,000. Beautiful sailboat. 28 feet. The words didn't make sense at first, like he was speaking a foreign language. A boat? For Megan. An engagement gift. Her fiancé's family has a place on the lake. This way, we'll have something to contribute. Show them we're not just anybody. I gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. Dad, I'm in the hospital. The infection is spreading. The doctors always say the worst case scenario. That's how they scare you into paying. I'm a nurse. I know what I'm looking at. Then you should know how to handle it. His tone sharpened. Listen, Ashley. Your sister is building a future. She's marrying into a good family. This is an investment. You? You're still a nurse making 40 grand a year. That's not an investment. That's a sunk cost. Sunk cost. He called me a sunk cost. You have insurance, he continued. Use it. We already raised you to 18. Our job is done. So that's a no? That's a figure it out yourself. He paused. And maybe this will teach you something. You've always had it too easy. A little struggle builds character. He hung up. I didn't cry. I was too stunned to cry. 45,000 for a boat. 0 for my leg. Mom called back an hour later. Not to apologize. To explain. Your father isn't heartless, Ashley. He just believes in tough love. Tough love? I laughed, but it came out like a cough. I could lose my leg. You're exaggerating. You always exaggerate. I'm looking at it right now, Mom. The red line is past my knee. She ignored that. You have to understand. We've given you so much over the years. The car when you graduated high school, help with your first apartment deposit, that trip to Florida when you were— The car was Megan's old one that she didn't want anymore. The apartment deposit was a loan I paid back. And the Florida trip was a family vacation when I was 12. See? This is what I mean. You're ungrateful. You don't remember the good things. I closed my eyes. Mom, I'm asking for help, one time, for something that could change my entire life. And I'm telling you that sometimes we have to learn from our struggles. Her voice took on that preachy tone I'd heard 1,000 times. Walking with a limp might teach you responsibility, might make you think twice before quitting a stable job to chase better opportunities. There it was. She blamed me for switching hospitals, for trying to improve my career. You think I deserve to lose my leg because I took a better job? I think God puts challenges in our path for a reason. I had nothing left to say, nothing that wouldn't come out as a scream. We love you, Ashley. We just can't enable you. She hung up. Enable me. Like asking for emergency medical help was a character flaw. Like wanting to keep my leg was a bad habit they needed to break me of. I stared at the ceiling and tried to remember the last time they'd said I love you without a but attached. I couldn't. Megan called that evening. For one stupid moment, hope flickered in my chest. Hey, Ash, Mom said you're in the hospital? Yeah, infection in my leg. I need surgery. That sucks. She didn't sound like it sucked. She sounded distracted. So, are you coming to the engagement party? I need a final head count. I almost laughed. Megan, I might lose my leg. I don't know if I'll be able to walk by then. Oh, come on, don't be so dramatic. A light chuckle. You'll figure it out, you always do. Did Mom and Dad tell you they won't help with the surgery? I mean, it's not like they have unlimited money, Ashley. They just bought a $45,000 boat for you. Silence. Then, that's different. That's an investment in our family's future. Jason's parents have expectations. And my leg isn't worth investing in? Don't twist my words. Look, I'm sorry you're going through this, but I can't help either. The wedding is expensive. We're stretched thin. I thought about all the times I'd covered for Megan, lied to our parents about where she was in high school, loaned her money she never paid back, listened to her problems for hours without ever getting the same in return. Megan, I've never asked you for anything. Ever. And I've never asked you to guilt-trip me, but here we are. Her voice turned cold. Figure it out, Ashley. Take out a loan. Set up a GoFundMe. I don't know. But don't expect me to sacrifice my wedding fund because you got an infection. She paused, then added, oh, and don't forget, the party's black tie optional. Don't embarrass me by showing up in scrubs. Click. I put the phone down and stared at the wall. 3 calls, 3 rejections. Not a single "I'm sorry" that meant anything. I had no one, or so I thought. I couldn't sleep. The clock on the wall read 11:47 p.m., 31 hours until the surgery deadline. I had $4,800. I needed $10,000. And I had no one left to call. Then the door creaked open. My grandmother stood in the doorway. Grace Hayes, 69 years old, white hair pulled back in a simple bun, wearing a cardigan I'd seen 100 times. She looked smaller than I remembered. Frailer. Grandma? My voice cracked. How did you— Linda from church drove me. I heard what happened. She crossed the room slowly, pulled up a chair, and sat beside my bed. Her hand found mine, warm, papery, trembling slightly. Does it hurt? She asked. Not, why didn't you call me? Not, what do you need? Just, does it hurt? I started crying. Couldn't stop. She held my hand through all of it. Didn't rush me. Didn't tell me to be strong. Just let me fall apart. When I finally caught my breath, she reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. $800, she said. I know it's not enough. Grandma, no. I sold Harold's tools, the woodworking set. My heart stopped. Those tools were sacred. Grandpa had built furniture with them for 40 years. After he died, Grandma kept them in the garage like a shrine. She'd polish them sometimes, just to feel close to him. Grandma, you can't. It's done. Her voice was firm. Linda bought them. She paid more than they're worth because she knows what they meant. She pressed the envelope into my hands. Harold would have wanted this. He loved you, Ashley. And so do I. I couldn't speak. $800 wouldn't save my leg. But in that moment, it saved something else. It reminded me that love still existed somewhere, even if it wasn't where I expected to find it. I'm going to pause here for just a moment. My parents refused $10,000, but my grandmother sold everything for 800. So I want to ask you, what would you have done? Comment grandma if you think she deserves to be treasured. Comment boundaries if you think I should have cut my parents off right then and there. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. This story is just getting started. Now let me tell you what happened next. I held the envelope like it might dissolve if I gripped too hard. Grandma, who did you sell them to? We can get them back. I can't let you. Linda Martinez from church. Grandma patted my hand. She's had her eye on Harold's tools for years, wanted to learn woodworking after her husband passed. Linda Martinez. I knew the name. She ran a small consignment shop downtown, dealt in antiques and second-hand goods on the side. She and Grandma had been friends for decades. Did she ask why you were selling? Grandma's eyes met mine, steady and unapologetic. I told her the truth, that my granddaughter needed surgery and her parents wouldn't help. My stomach dropped. Grandma, what? Should I have lied? She shrugged. Linda asked questions. I answered. She was horrified, by the way. Asked me twice if I was sure about my daughter. Patricia, my mother, Grandma's own child. What did you tell her? I told her Patricia has forgotten where she came from. Grandma's voice softened, but there was iron underneath. Your mother wasn't always like this, Ashley. She changed when she married your father. Money became everything. Image became everything. Love became conditional. You're not embarrassed? That people know? Embarrassed? She almost laughed. I'm heartbroken, but not embarrassed. I didn't do anything wrong, and neither did you. She squeezed my hand. The truth isn't something to hide, sweetheart. If the truth makes someone look bad, maybe they should have made better choices. I thought about all the years I'd covered for my family, made excuses, smiled through holidays, pretended everything was fine. Maybe Grandma was right. Maybe the truth had been waiting to come out for a long time. I just didn't know how fast it would spread. The next morning, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Hello? Is this Ashley Townsend? A man's voice, warm and steady. This is Pastor Thomas Reed from Grace Community Church. I'm a friend of your grandmother's. I sat up in bed, confused. Yes, this is Ashley. I heard about your situation. Linda told me and, well, word travels fast in our congregation. He paused. Your grandmother has been a pillar of our community for 40 years. She's helped more families through hard times than I can count. And now, it seems like it's time for us to help her family. I'm sorry, I don't understand. We're organizing a collection. Nothing fancy. Just people who want to give back some of what Grace has given them. His voice softened. I can't promise how much we'll raise, but I wanted you to know you're not alone in this. I couldn't speak. Strangers, people I'd never met, were gathering money to help me. Meanwhile, my own parents were out shopping for boat accessories. Pastor Reed, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just focus on getting better. He hesitated. One more thing, Ashley. Some folks have asked if they should reach out to your parents to explain the situation, maybe encourage them to help. My blood ran cold. What do you mean? Several people know your family. Your mother and father attend a different church, but this is a small town. People talk. The walls felt like they were closing in. If this got back to my parents, if they found out the whole community knew what they'd done. Pastor, I'm not trying to cause trouble, I know. His voice was gentle. But I had to ask. What would you like us to do? The question hung in the air like a grenade with the pin half pulled. I lay awake that whole night thinking about Pastor Reed's question. Every instinct told me to protect my family. That's what I'd always done. When Dad yelled at waiters, I apologized on his behalf. When Mom said something cruel at Thanksgiving, I changed the subject. When Megan took credit for my ideas, I let it go. Keep the peace. Don't rock the boat. Be the good daughter. But look where that had gotten me. Lying in a hospital bed, leg rotting, while the people who were supposed to love me bought a boat. I thought about Grandma selling Harold's tools, giving up the last piece of her husband to scrape together $800, while her own daughter, my mother, couldn't be bothered to skip a salon appointment. I picked up my phone and called Pastor Reed. "I've made a decision," I said, "about what you asked. I'm listening. I'm not going to ask you to contact my parents, and I'm not going to ask you to keep anything secret either." I took a breath. "If people ask what happened, tell them the truth. I won't stop you. I won't deny it." "Are you sure, Ashley? This could complicate things." "My things are already complicated. I'm done lying to make other people comfortable." Silence on the line. Then, "That took courage to say." "It doesn't feel like courage. It feels like giving up. Sometimes giving up the wrong things is the bravest thing we can do." I hung up and stared at the ceiling. For 26 years, I'd been the family secret keeper, the peacemaker, the one who smoothed everything over. Not anymore. I didn't ask anyone to spread the story. I didn't demand justice or revenge. I just stopped lying. And that, it turned out, was enough. 24 hours later, I had the surgery. The church raised $6,200. Combined with Grandma's $800 and my $4,800 in savings, I had just enough to cover the hospital's upfront requirement. They agreed to a payment plan for the rest. I woke up in recovery with my leg still attached, bandaged, aching, but attached. Dr. Reeves came by later that afternoon. We got it in time, another day or two, and we'd be having a very different conversation. I nodded, too exhausted to speak. "You're lucky," he added. "Not everyone has a community that shows up like that." Lucky. I let the word roll around in my head. Lucky to have strangers care more than my own blood. The first face I saw when I opened my eyes fully was Grandma, sitting in the same chair, wearing the same cardigan. "Welcome back," she said, smiling. "Did you sleep here?" "Just a little nap. I'm too old to sleep in chairs properly." I reached for her hand. "Thank you. For everything." "Don't thank me yet. You still have physical therapy ahead." She patted my arm. "Oh, I called your mother. Told her you were out of surgery." My heart sank. "What did she say?" Grandma's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. She asked, "Who paid for it?" Of course she did. Not, "Is Ashley okay?" Not, "Thank God she's alive." Just, "Who paid?" "What did you tell her?" The truth, that the church community helped, that strangers cared more about her daughter than she did. I waited for the guilt to hit, for that familiar urge to call Mom and smooth things over. It never came. "Good," I said, and I meant it. 1 week after surgery, I was staying at Grandma's house for recovery. Physical therapy twice a week, slow walks around the garden, and more home-cooked meals than I'd had in years. That's when the ripples started to reach my parents. Grandma came into the kitchen one morning, holding her phone like it was a dead mouse. "Your mother called," she said. 5 times. "What did she want?" "She's upset. Apparently someone at her country club mentioned your surgery, asked if you were recovering well." I put down my coffee. "How did they know?" "Small town, Ashley. And Linda knows people who know people." Grandma sat across from me. "Patricia is furious. She said I made her look bad by telling people what happened." "You made her look bad? She's the one who—" "I know what she did." Grandma's voice was calm but firm. "And I told her the same thing I'll tell you. If the truth makes you look bad, maybe don't do bad things." I almost laughed. Almost. Later that day, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Hey, Ashley. It's Derek, your uncle. I heard about what happened. I'm sorry, really sorry. Uncle Derek, Dad's younger brother. I'd barely seen him in years. There was some ancient tension between him and Dad that no one talked about. Can I call you? I typed back. He did, 10 minutes later. I want you to know, he said. I had no idea what Richard and Patricia were thinking. A boat over your surgery? That's… He trailed off. That's not okay. I didn't know you were keeping tabs on the family. I keep tabs on Mom, on Grace. She tells me things. He paused. You're not alone, Ashley. I know it feels like it, but you're not. Megan's engagement party arrived 2 weeks after my surgery. Black tie optional, country club. 50 guests, carefully curated to impress Jason's family. I wasn't officially invited anymore. Megan had sent a text 3 days prior. If your leg isn't better, don't worry about coming. We'll take pictures without you. I stayed at Grandma's. We watched old movies and ate popcorn while my family celebrated without me. But I heard about the party later. From Grandma, from Uncle Derek, and eventually from the woman whose presence had apparently caused a small earthquake. Her name was Barbara Sims. She attended the same church as Grandma, knew Linda, and happened to be a member of the same country club as my parents. During cocktail hour, Barbara approached my mother with a smile. Patricia, lovely to see you. How's Ashley doing after her surgery? Mom's face apparently went white. She's fine. Just a minor procedure. Minor? Linda said she nearly lost her leg. Thank goodness the church was able to help. You must be so grateful. The people around them went quiet. Patricia smiled, but according to multiple witnesses, it looked more like a grimace. There were some miscommunications, Mom said carefully. But yes, we're very grateful for the community support. Miscommunications? Barbara tilted her head. Linda mentioned Ashley asked for help and couldn't get it from anyone in the family. Dad appeared at that moment, sensing trouble. Barbara, he said tightly, always a pleasure. Richard, I was just asking Patricia about your younger daughter. Terrible situation. But I suppose these things happen when priorities get mixed up. She glanced at the decorated room, the ice sculptures, the champagne fountain. Anyway, lovely party. She walked away. The rest of the evening, I'm told, felt like a funeral with better catering. 2 weeks after the engagement party, Pastor Reed called me again. Ashley, I hope I'm not overstepping, but I wanted to run an idea by you. I was in Grandma's garden, practicing walking without the crutch. Go ahead. Your grandmother's 70th birthday is coming up. The congregation wants to throw her a party, nothing extravagant, just a celebration at the church hall. Food, music, people who love her. I smiled for the first time in weeks. She'd love that. There's more, Pastor Reed hesitated. Some folks want to invite your parents and your sister. The thinking is, maybe if everyone's together in a supportive environment, there could be some healing. My stomach tightened. Or there could be a disaster. That's why I'm calling you first. What do you think? I watched a bird land on Grandma's fence, peck at something, and fly away. So simple, so unburdened by family drama. I don't want to turn Grandma's birthday into a confrontation, I said finally. It should be about her, not about my mess. I understand, but Ashley, Grace's sacrifice for you is part of her story now. People want to honor that. We're not planning to call anyone out. We just want to celebrate her. And if my parents show up and make a scene? Then they show their true colors in front of 80 people who already know what they did. I thought about it. Grandma had spent 40 years giving to this community. She deserved a party. She deserved to be surrounded by people who actually loved her. If my parents couldn't handle that, maybe it wasn't my problem anymore. Okay, I said. Let's do it. I'll help you plan. Thank you, Ashley. This will mean the world to her. I hoped he was right, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to break wide open. Planning the party meant spending more time at Grandma's house, sorting through photos, finding decorations. 3 days before the event, I was in her closet looking for an old photo album when I found the box. Cardboard, dusty, labeled Harold in faded marker. I knew I should leave it alone, but something pulled me to open it. Inside, the receipt from Linda's shop. $800 for vintage woodworking tool set, dated the same day I was admitted to the hospital. And underneath that, a letter, handwritten, addressed to my Harold. I knew I shouldn't read it, but my eyes caught the first line before I could stop myself. My love, I had to let your tools go today. The rest of the letter was a confession to her dead husband, explaining why she'd sold the only thing she had left of him, how she'd watched her own daughter become someone she didn't recognize, how she needed him to understand that helping Ashley wasn't a betrayal. It was honoring everything he'd taught her about family. Patricia has forgotten what matters, but I haven't, and I won't let our granddaughter pay the price for her mother's coldness. I was crying before I finished. The door creaked behind me. I was wondering when you'd find that. Grandma stood in the doorway, not angry, just tired. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. It's fine. Harold would want you to know. She walked over, took the letter gently from my hands. I write to him sometimes. Keeps him close. Grandma, don't feel sorry for me, sweetheart. I made my choice, and I'd make it again. She placed the letter back in the box, but something caught my eye. Her phone. A text message notification on the screen. From Mom. If you embarrass this family at that party, I will never forgive you. Grandma followed my gaze and sighed. Patricia's always been better at threats than apologies. We're almost at the party. Grandma's 70th birthday. 80 people. And my parents are coming. Everything I've told you so far, the rejection, the boat, the $800 sacrifice, it's all about to collide in one room. So tell me, what do you think is going to happen? Comment truth if you think everything should come out. Comment peace if you think I should try to make amends. And please hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what happens next. The day of the party arrived. Grace Community Church's fellowship hall had been transformed. White tablecloths, flower centerpieces, a photo slideshow running on a loop near the entrance, 80 chairs arranged around round tables, each with a small candle. Grandma didn't know. We'd told her we were going to a small lunch with some friends. When she walked in and saw the crowd, she stopped in the doorway, hand flying to her chest. "Oh my," she whispered. "Oh my goodness." The room erupted in applause. People she'd known for decades rushed to hug her. Former students she'd taught, neighbors she'd helped through hard times, church members she'd visited when they were sick. I stood in the corner, watching her face light up. This was right. This was how it should be. Then I saw them walk in. Dad first, wearing his navy blazer, the one he saved for important occasions. Mom behind him, in a cream-colored dress, pearls at her throat. Megan and Jason bringing up the rear. Megan looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. Dad surveyed the room like he was assessing property value. Mom spotted Grandma and manufactured a smile. "Mother, happy birthday!" Grandma accepted the hug stiffly. "Patricia, Richard, glad you could make it." "Wouldn't miss it." Mom's eyes scanned the crowd, calculating. "What a lovely little gathering." I stayed in my corner, but Uncle Derek appeared beside me. He'd driven in from 3 hours away. "You ready for this?" he murmured. "No." "Good. Neither am I." He squeezed my shoulder. "But whatever happens, you're not alone. Remember that." I watched my parents work the room, shaking hands, making small talk, performing the role of caring family members. I wondered how long the performance would last. After lunch, Pastor Reed took the microphone. "Friends, before we bring out the cake, I'd like to share a few words about our guest of honor." The room quieted. Grandma sat at the head table, looking slightly embarrassed by the attention. "Grace Hayes has been part of this community for over 40 years. She taught many of your children. She volunteered at our food bank every Thanksgiving. She visited the sick, comforted the grieving, and opened her door to anyone who needed help. The slideshow began. Photos of Grandma through the decades, teaching elementary school, holding newborn babies, standing with Grandpa Harold in front of their first house. I saw Mom shift uncomfortably when her own childhood photos appeared. Young Patricia, bright-eyed and smiling, hugging her mother at some long-ago birthday party. The photos continued. Grandma and Grandpa Harold in his workshop, the two of them at their 50th wedding anniversary just months before he passed. Then, a photo of the tools. Harold's woodworking set, arranged on his workbench, chisels, planes, saws, the tools Grandma had sold to save my leg. Pastor Reed's voice softened. Recently, Grace made an extraordinary sacrifice. She sold her late husband's most treasured possessions to help someone she loved. The room was silent. I felt eyes turning toward me, then toward my parents. Pastor Reed continued. She didn't ask for recognition. She never does. But today, we want her to know that her sacrifice was seen and honored. Linda Martinez stood up, carrying a large wooden box. Grace, she said, voice thick with emotion. We couldn't let those tools leave the family. The congregation pooled together and bought them back. This is our gift to you. Happy 70th birthday. Grandma's hands flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I looked at my mother. Her face was stone. Mom stood up, her chair scraped against the floor. This is inappropriate, she said, voice cutting through the silence. This is a private family matter. 80 heads turned toward her. Grandma slowly wiped her eyes. Patricia, sit down. No, I will not sit here while our family's business is aired to, she gestured at the crowd, to strangers. These aren't strangers, Linda said quietly. They're your mother's community, the people who showed up when you didn't. Gasps, whispers. I don't need to explain myself to you. Mom's voice rose. We made parenting decisions. That's our right. An older woman in the back, Barbara Sims again, spoke up. Parenting decisions? Your daughter nearly lost her leg. And she didn't, Mom snapped. She's fine. Everyone's fine. So why are we… She's fine because other people helped. This from Uncle Derek, stepping forward. Not you, not Richard. Dad stood now too, face reddening. Stay out of this, Derek. You've always had a problem with how I run my family. Someone should have a problem with it. Derek's voice boomed across the hall. You bought a $45,000 boat the same week your daughter was begging for surgery money. A boat, Richard, for a party trick, while Ashley was watching infection climb her leg. The room exploded in murmurs. Megan tugged at Jason's sleeve, whispering urgently. Jason's face was unreadable, but his jaw was tight. Mom turned to Grandma, fury in her eyes. Are you happy now, Mother? You've humiliated us. Grandma rose from her chair, 70 years old, tiny. But in that moment, she seemed 10 feet tall. No, Patricia. You humiliated yourselves. I just stopped covering for you. The room went silent, and all eyes turned to me. Mom spun toward me. Ashley, say something. Tell them this is all a misunderstanding. 80 people watched, waiting. I stood up slowly. My leg ached, but I didn't reach for the chair. There's no misunderstanding, Mom. Ashley, I asked you for help. I explained exactly what was happening. You said no. We had reasons. You had a boat. Silence. I took a breath, kept my voice steady. I'm not here to list everything you've done wrong. I'm not here to get revenge or make you feel bad in front of everyone. That's not who I want to be. Mom's eyes darted around the room, calculating, looking for an exit. But I'm also done pretending. Done lying to make you look good. Done being the daughter who keeps the family secrets so nobody feels uncomfortable. Dad stepped forward. You don't talk to your mother like… I'm not finished. I met his eyes. You called me a sunk cost. You said my surgery would teach me a lesson. And you bought a boat. A boat. While I was in a hospital bed wondering if I'd ever walk again. His mouth opened, then closed. So here's what's going to happen, I said. I'm setting a boundary. From now on, I decide who gets to be family to me. And family doesn't mean people who share my blood. It means people who show up. I looked at Grandma, at Linda, at Pastor Reed and Uncle Derek and all the faces I barely knew, but who had done more for me in 1 month than my parents had in 26 years. You're not losing a daughter, I said, turning back to Mom. You lost her a long time ago. I'm just finally saying it out loud. I walked to Grandma and hugged her, and the room burst into applause. The applause made Mom flinch. She grabbed her purse and started toward the exit, but Megan caught her arm. Mom, stop. If we leave now, everyone will talk. They're already talking, Megan. Then don't make it worse. Dad stood frozen, face purple. I'd never seen him speechless before. It was almost satisfying. Jason was the unexpected variable. He stepped away from Megan, walked toward me. Ashley. His voice was quiet, respectful. I'm sorry for what you went through. It's not your fault. I know. But I'm still sorry. He glanced back at Megan, something complicated in his expression. I didn't know about any of this. Megan called out to him. Jason, come on. We need to go. He hesitated. Megan, maybe we should stay. Talk to your grandmother. She's not my grandmother's biggest fan right now. Maybe that's the problem. I watched him walk back to her. The conversation that followed was too quiet to hear, but I saw Megan's face shift, from irritation to something like fear. Meanwhile, Grandma stood at the gift table, holding the box of tools, surrounded by friends who wanted to hug her, shake her hand, tell her she was brave. She caught my eye and smiled. That smile said everything. Worth it. Dad finally found his voice. This isn't over, Ashley. I turned to face him. You're right, but it's not up to you how it ends. He opened his mouth to respond, but Uncle Derek stepped between us. Richard, Patricia, I think it's time you left. This is Mom's party, and you're ruining it. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Mom grabbed Dad's arm and pulled him toward the door. Megan followed, heels clicking on the floor. Jason trailed behind, looking back once before disappearing. The door closed, and the party continued without them. After they left, the tension drained from the room like water from a bathtub. People resumed conversations. Someone turned the music back on. Grandma was escorted to cut her cake, surrounded by friends taking photos. I slipped outside for air. The parking lot was quiet. My leg throbbed. I'd been standing too long. I found a bench near the entrance and sat down, letting the cool evening air wash over me. Footsteps behind me. Jason. Mind if I sit? I gestured to the empty space. He sat down, loosening his tie. Well, he said, that was something. I'm sorry you got caught in the middle of it. Don't be. He stared at the sky. I'm glad I saw it. Megan and I have been together 2 years. I thought I knew her family. And now? Now I'm realizing I only knew the version they wanted me to see. We sat in silence for a moment. She's not evil, I found myself saying. Megan, she was raised differently than me. She got everything she wanted, and I got what was left over. It shaped us differently. You're defending her? I'm explaining her. There's a difference. I looked at him. I don't hate my sister. I don't even hate my parents. I'm just done letting them hurt me. Jason nodded slowly. That's healthier than I would be. Ask me again in 6 months. He laughed, a real laugh, then stood up. For what it's worth, Ashley, I think you're the strongest person in that family. I learned it from my grandmother. I can tell. He hesitated. I need to go talk to Megan. We have a lot to figure out. Good luck. He walked away. I watched him go, wondering what would happen to their relationship. Then I went back inside to celebrate with the people who actually loved me. 1 week later, Uncle Derek called with news. Jason postponed the wedding. I set down my coffee. Postponed? Not cancelled? Postponed. Indefinitely. He told Megan they need to work some things out first, including how her family treats people. I should have felt victorious. I didn't. I just felt tired. How's Megan taking it? Not well. She called your parents, screaming, blamed them for the party disaster. They blamed your grandmother. Your grandmother, apparently, hung up on all of them. Good for her. There's more. The boat? Richard listed it for sale yesterday. That surprised me. The $45,000 boat? Turns out showing off to Jason's family doesn't matter much when Jason's family has serious concerns about your character. Derek's voice was dry. Funny how that works. 3 days later, Megan called me. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Happy now? Her voice was raw, like she'd been crying. No, actually, I'm not happy any of this happened. You ruined my wedding. I let that sit for a moment. Megan, I didn't make you laugh when I told you I might lose my leg. I didn't buy a boat instead of helping me. I didn't lie to Jason's family about who we really are. So it's all our fault? I'm not saying that. I'm saying consequences aren't revenge. They're just what happens when the truth comes out. Silence. Then quietly. You could have kept it quiet. I could have. I've kept things quiet for 26 years, and where did that get me? She hung up without answering. I put the phone down and looked out the window at Grandma's garden. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt like something had finally, permanently shifted, and I couldn't unshift it even if I wanted to. Mom showed up at Grandma's house 2 weeks later. No warning. Just rang the doorbell on a Tuesday afternoon. I opened the door and almost didn't recognize her. No makeup. Hair pulled back haphazardly. Eyes puffy. Ashley, can we talk? I stepped aside. Let her in. Grandma was out at her bridge club, probably for the best. Mom sat on the living room sofa, looking around like she'd never been here before. I want to fix things, she said finally. I sat across from her. Waited. Your father and I have been talking. This whole situation has been difficult. For everyone. Yes, it has. The wedding is postponed. People are talking. Your father's been getting looks at the golf club. She twisted her hands in her lap. We need to move past this. As a family. What does that look like to you? Well, she took a breath. Maybe you could tell people that there was a misunderstanding. That we offered to help, but you wanted to be independent. Something like that. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. It didn't come. You want me to lie. I want us to heal, Ashley. And sometimes healing means acknowledging what happened, not covering it up. Her expression flickered, frustration breaking through the mask. I'm trying to meet you halfway. No, you're trying to protect your reputation. That's not the same thing. So what do you want from me? An apology? I don't want anything from you, Mom. That's what I've been trying to tell you. I leaned forward. An apology won't change what you did. What I need is distance, boundaries, space to live my life without being hurt by people who are supposed to love me. Her face hardened. So that's it? You're cutting us off? I'm protecting myself. If you can't tell the difference, that's the whole problem. She left without saying goodbye. That night, Grandma came home and found me on the porch, staring at nothing. She sat beside me, her joints creaking softly. Your mother was here. How did you know? I can smell her perfume. She smiled faintly. It hasn't changed in 30 years. We sat in silence for a while. She wanted me to lie for them, I said. Tell people it was a misunderstanding. Of course she did. Grandma sighed. Patricia has always been better at managing appearances than facing truth. Were you surprised? When she became like this? Grandma thought about it. Yes and no. She wasn't always this way, Ashley. When she was young, she was sweet, generous even. Then she met your father. You blame him? I blame no one. People make choices. Patricia chose to value money and status over everything else. That was her decision. But she's your daughter. Yes. Grandma's voice softened. And losing her is a grief I carry every day. But I lost her long before this week, long before you were in the hospital. I lost her the day she stopped seeing people as people and started seeing them as investments. I felt tears prick my eyes. I'm sorry, Grandma. Don't be sorry. Be better. She took my hand. You have a chance Patricia never took. You can choose differently. You can build a life based on love, not ledgers. What if I can't? What if I end up just like them? She squeezed my hand. The fact that you're asking that question means you won't. We sat together until the stars came out. Later, as I helped her inside, she mentioned casually, "Oh, I updated my will last month. Grandma, don't argue. Derek gets half. You get half. Patricia gets a letter explaining why." A letter? Some lessons can only be taught from the grave. 2 months after the party, I made a decision. Grandma, I want to move in. Officially. She looked up from her crossword puzzle. You already live here. I mean permanently, not just for recovery. I'll pay rent, help with groceries, take care of the garden. The garden is mostly weeds. Then I'll weed it. She studied me over her reading glasses. You're not doing this out of guilt, are you? No, I'm doing it because this is the only place I've felt like family in years. Her face softened. Then yes, of course. I went back to work the following week. Full shifts at Mercy General. The physical therapy had paid off. My leg was stiff, but functional. I'd never run marathons, but I could walk, stand, do my job. My coworkers threw me a small welcome back party. Dana hugged me so hard I thought she'd crack a rib. We were worried about you, she said. Really worried. I'm okay now. You look okay. You look lighter. She was right. Something had lifted. Not happiness exactly, but the absence of a weight I'd carried so long I'd forgotten it was there. Life settled into a new rhythm. Work, physical therapy, dinners with Grandma, weekend woodworking lessons in the garage using Harold's reclaimed tools. I got a wedding invitation in the mail. Megan and Jason, rescheduled. I placed it on the kitchen table and forgot about it for 3 days. When Grandma found it, she asked, Are you going? I don't know. What do you want to do? I picked up the invitation. Cream-colored paper. Elegant script. Like nothing had ever happened. I want to stop being angry, I said. And I'm not sure if going helps with that or makes it worse. Then decide when you're ready, not before. I put the invitation in a drawer. I'd decide later, when I was ready. 3 weeks before the wedding, Megan called. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something in me, curiosity maybe or exhaustion, made me answer. Megan. Ashley. Her voice was different, smaller. Can you talk? I'm listening. A pause. Then, I owe you an apology. I waited. Jason and I have been in therapy, couples counseling. His idea, but I agreed. And we've been talking about a lot of things, including you. Me? The therapist asked me to describe our relationship, yours and mine, and I started listing all the times I thought you'd been dramatic or needy or attention-seeking, and the therapist just looked at me and asked if I'd ever considered that I was wrong. I sank onto the edge of my bed. I didn't have an answer, Megan continued. I've never had to have an answer. I was the good one, the successful one, the one who did everything right, and you were there, in the background, complaining. I wasn't complaining. I know that now. Her voice cracked. When you said you might lose your leg, I laughed. I laughed, Ashley. What kind of person does that? Someone who was never taught to care. Silence. The therapist said the same thing, that I learned to see people the way mom and dad see them, as useful or not useful, and you were never useful to my plans, so I dismissed you. I didn't know what to say. This wasn't the Megan I'd known my whole life. I'm not asking you to forgive me, she said. I'm just asking you to know that I see it now. What I did, who I was. And who are you now? I don't know yet. Someone trying to be better. That's a start. Will you come to the wedding? I don't know yet either, but Megan, thank you for calling. That's something you've never done before. I went to the wedding. Not because I forgave everyone, not because everything was fixed, but because Grandma wanted to go and she needed someone to drive her. The ceremony was smaller than originally planned. 60 guests instead of 200. Garden venue instead of the country club. Jason's family sat on one side, looking politely uncomfortable. My parents were there. Mom in champagne silk, Dad in a suit that didn't quite fit anymore. He'd lost weight from stress, according to Uncle Derek. They saw me come in with Grandma. Mom started toward us, then stopped. Changed direction. Went to greet someone else instead. Fine by me? Megan looked beautiful. Nervous, but beautiful. When she walked down the aisle, she caught my eye and nodded. Just a small acknowledgement. But it was more than we'd shared in years. The reception was awkward in places. There were people who knew the story and people who didn't. Conversations that died when certain names came up. I didn't stay long. Danced once with Uncle Derek, ate a piece of cake, hugged Grandma when she said she was tired. As we were leaving, Megan caught me at the door. You came. I said I might. She smiled. Not her old smile, polished and performance-ready, something softer. Thank you for giving me a chance. I'm giving us both a chance. She hugged me, brief, tentative. We weren't sisters who hugged. Maybe we could learn. In the car, Grandma patted my hand. How do you feel? I thought about it. Okay, not great, not terrible, just okay. Okay is enough, sweetheart. For now, okay is more than enough. I drove us home through quiet streets, past houses with lit windows, past the hospital where strangers had helped save my leg. Okay was enough. For now. 6 months later. My leg healed fully. A small scar ran up my calf, silvery and fading. Dr. Reeves called it a battle wound. I called it a reminder. I'd been promoted to shift supervisor at Mercy General. Better hours, better pay, a team of nurses who respected me. Grandma and I had settled into an easy rhythm. I cooked on weekdays, she cooked on weekends. We watched Jeopardy every night at 7 o'clock. She was teaching me woodworking, basic stuff, but satisfying. My hands were learning what Harold's hands had known. Megan and I texted sometimes. Nothing deep. Just, how are you? And saw this and thought of you. And happy birthday. It wasn't closeness, but it wasn't coldness either. My parents kept their distance. Mom sent a Christmas card with a generic message. Dad didn't send anything. I didn't expect him to. But the silence didn't hurt like it used to. It just was. One afternoon, a patient's daughter stopped me in the hallway. Middle-aged woman, exhausted, scared. You're the nurse who almost lost her leg, right? I heard your story from someone at church. I braced myself. Yes. My mother is cutting me off. Won't pay for her own grandkids' medical bills. Says it'll build character. She laughed bitterly. Sound familiar? Too familiar. How did you get through it? I thought about it. I stopped waiting for them to be who I needed. I found people who already were. She nodded slowly. Did it hurt? Letting go? Every day at first, then less, then hardly at all. I put my hand on her arm. You're allowed to choose yourself, even over family, especially over family who doesn't choose you back. She thanked me, walked away with slightly straighter shoulders. That's when I knew the hardest part was over. Before I close the story, I want to share something I've learned about my family, about myself, and maybe about you. My father grew up poor, like hand-me-down clothes, food stamps at the grocery store poor. He clawed his way into the middle class through sheer force of will, and somewhere along the way, he started seeing everything through a financial lens. Children weren't children, they were investments. Megan was the high-yield stock. I was the underperformer he wanted to cut loose. That doesn't excuse what he did, but it explains it. My mother was different. She came from a loving home, Grandma's home, but she married my father and slowly adopted his worldview. It was easier than fighting, easier than questioning. By the time I was born, she'd forgotten how to love without conditions. And Megan? She was the product of both, raised to believe that worth came from achievement, that love was earned through success. She never learned empathy because no one taught her. She dismissed me because I was less than in the only metric that mattered to her. As for me, my weakness was obvious. I spent 26 years trying to earn love from people who had already decided I wasn't worth it. I confused silence with peace. I thought that if I just tried harder, accommodated more, swallowed my pain quietly, eventually they'd see me. They never would have. That's not a failure of my effort. It's a failure of their capacity. If any of this sounds familiar to you, if you've ever been the overlooked one, the scapegoat, the family member who could never quite measure up, hear me when I say this. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are not a sunk cost. Setting boundaries isn't betrayal, it's survival. And choosing yourself, even when it means losing people who share your blood, is the bravest thing you can do. Family isn't always the people you're born to. Sometimes it's the grandmother who sells her treasures to save you, the strangers who donate because they've heard your story, the friends who show up when blood relatives walk away. That's my story. Thank you for walking through it with me. If you've made it this far, please like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. In the description, I've linked another story about boundaries and healing. Check it out if this resonated with you. And if you have a story of your own, of setting boundaries, of finding real family, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear it. Until next time.